Greetings, welcome ladies and gents, I'm the Super Gamer, and welcome to the final episode of... For the last episode of PlayStation Month, I decided that I'd take a look at a PS2 game that I really don't like. Ratchet Clank for the PS2.
Yeah, you heard me correctly. I don't like the first Ratchet Clank. Do I hate it? No. Are there good things about it? Absolutely. But man, I thought that this game was very poorly done in its execution. Created by Insomniac Games, creators of Spyro, Ratchet & Clank is one of Sony's most popular and successful franchises. But man, did it have a rough start, at least in my opinion. So what is it about this game that makes me wish I never had to review it? Let's find out. This is Ratchet & Clank on PS2. Our story begins on the planet Veldin, where a Lombax named Ratchet is trying to fix up his ship. Meanwhile, in a factory on another planet, we see an assembly line of robots with one small robot falling out. It then sees a message and uses an escape pod crash landing onto planet Veldin. Ratchet finds the robot, and the robot reveals that the message he saw holds an evil plan from Supreme Executive Chairman Drek. What is his plan, you ask? Well, Drek explains it better than me.
Hello, citizens of... My race, the Blog, have a small problem. Our planet has become so polluted, overpopulated, and poisonous that we are no longer able to dwell here. But I, Chairman Drek, have a solution. We are constructing a pristine new world using the choicest planetary components available. So, what does this mean to you, you might ask? Using highly sophisticated technology, which you couldn't possibly understand, we will be extracting a large portion of your planet and adding it to our new one. Unfortunately, this change in mass will cause your planet to spin out of control and drift into the sun, where it will explode into a flaming ball of gas. But, of course, sacrifices must be made. Thank you for your cooperation.
Cut!
And if you don't like it, you can take your whiny, sniveling, snot-nosed populations, form a line behind me, and kiss my... We're still on? Well, turn it off, you idiot!
Since the robot is able to power Ratchet's ship, Ratchet agrees to help him find the legendary Captain Quark in exchange for allowing his ship to fly. Quark has been marketed as a superhero of the Solana Galaxy, and although he was a superhero at one point, he now merely is used to sell merchandise. On the way to find Quark, the robot reveals his name to be XJ0461. But frankly, that's not easy to remember, so Ratchet decides to nickname him Clank after he falls over in the ship. The story for the first game does admittedly have a rocky start, but once it actually gets going, it gets a lot more interesting. We'll talk more about the story in the spoiler section. One of the many reasons that Ratchet & Clank is such a beloved franchise is the universe it builds. I will give this game credit. It has quite the cast of memorable characters, both minor and major. Chairman Drek is such a despicably likable villain that I can't help but respect him. Captain Quark brings a lot of good comedic relief into the events of the game, and the side characters are all very entertaining to watch, including, but not limited to, Big Al, Skid McMarks, Helga von Stressenbergen, and the Plumber, just to name a few. Ironically enough, the two characters who the game is named after, Ratchet & Clank, aren't really all that interesting. We get little to no backstory, or really any sort of motivation for why they want what they want. This is especially the case with Ratchet, but we'll get to his character soon enough. Let's move on to the aesthetics. Graphically speaking, Ratchet 1 is a decent looking PS2 game. I'll give it credit that the environments are varied, the art direction is solid, and it's just a good looking game in general. Where the aesthetics truly shine, however, are the character animations and the dialogue. I'll admit, this is a very well written game, with tons of humor, in-jokes, and witty lines to quote for days. The the lip syncing is also on point. Just take a look at this cutscene, for example.
Hey, press conference is over. Captain Quark don't want no more reporters bugging him in his trailer.
Oh, you see, my friend and I need to speak to the captain about a matter of galactic security.
You mean you and your walking camera? You paparazzi make me sick. Now beat it.
But sir, I'm sure the Captain Quark will understand once we...
Now, save it. I know how it works. You convince me to let you in, you snap a picture of the captain in his underpants, then you sell a picture to the info tabloid for $1 million bolts.
You've got it all wrong.
Meanwhile, I'm stuck here making 6 bolts an hour, and I have to listen to a lecture from that cheapskate Quark. So you don't get in unless I get a kickback. In advance.
The soundtrack isn't anything too memorable, but there are still plenty of tracks that stick out in my head, like the themes for Planet Veldin, Novalis, Kurwan, Aridia, and Eudora, just to name a few. Overall, Ratchet 1 is a confidently programmed title for the PS2, and a decent looking one as well. But now it's time to get into one of the 2 reasons I don't like this game with the gameplay. Ratchet & Clank can be described as a mix between a 3D platformer and a third-person shooter. Let me explain. In Ratchet & Clank, you travel to multiple planets, meeting characters, finding new messages via infobots, and collect the world's form of currency, bolts, to purchase different weapons. Your main form of attacking is your Omni Wrench. However, as the game progresses, you can purchase different weapons via the several Gadgetron vendors scattered throughout the Solana galaxy. These weapons include a blaster, flamethrower, bomb gloves, missile launchers, and even a suck cannon. All of these weapons will be useful in their own way, and some weapons can take care of specific enemies more easily. Even though the weapons can be really fun to use, it leads into one of my biggest problems with Ratchet 1, the situations where you use the weapons. This game heavily encourages you to take your enemies out at a distance, by going into look around mode and shooting them that way. What's the big problem with this? One word. Boring. Since you can't move while shooting in first person, it requires you to not only be in range of the enemies, but also not get hit, because if you get hit, it brings you out of first person mode. This means it's basically required of you to either stay away from the enemies or get up right in their faces, because trying to shoot the enemies in mid-range is next to impossible unless the target is really big. Oh, well then the platforming must make up for it then, right? Nope, the platforming is as bare bones as it can get. It's just the most basic platforming that one can make. Definitely doesn't even hold a candle to games like the Sly Cooper series. Moving on, most of the time you'll be playing as Ratchet. However, there are a handful of missions where you take control of just Clank. The Clank sections have you finding and controlling an army of gadget bots to attack enemies in open pathways. There are even some segments in the late game where Clank turns into a giant and can destroy everything in sight. I don't know about you, but the Clank sections are actually the highlight of the game for me. They're really the most fun thing in this whole game, since the combat with Ratchet is extremely tedious, so this is something that I can always look forward to. Heck, I like to play a whole game based around the Clank sections alone. They're that good. The last thing to bring up is that hidden throughout the planets, there are gold bolts that you can find that will allow you to buy golden weapons. But I didn't really care, so I don't have any of them. Bummer, yeah, I know.
And now it's time to get into the biggest reason why I don't like this game, with the spoiler section.
Ah, spoiler alert!
Ratchet and Clank are able to find Captain Quark on planet Rilgar. Quark tells them that they can prove their worthiness by passing his obstacle course on planet Umbris. They pass the obstacle course, and it's revealed that Captain Quark was in fact being paid by Chairman Drek to do his bidding, and leaves a monster to kill them. They defeat the monster, and Ratchet swears vengeance on Quark. What this does is turn Ratchet into a whiny, obnoxious, mean-spirited, selfish butthole. He acts cruel towards people he comes across and even threatens to sell Clank for scrap at one point. Ladies and gents, this is why I put the game down when I first played it. Ratchet's character arc is actually so terrible and so out of left field that it made me absolutely not want to play the game anymore. I mean, he wasn't even all that interesting to begin with, but then they just had to go and destroy any chance of me having sympathy for him, cause I don't feel sympathy to people who are buttholes. I'm sorry, but I can never bring myself to play this game ever again because of this one flaw. I have seen other games handle this situation so much better, where even though they're mad, you still feel sorry for them and want them to be better. You can't just have an uninteresting character just suddenly turn into a jerk halfway through the game and expect me to feel sorry for them. That's not how character development works, guys. Do you see why I don't like this game now? Not only is it not a very fun game in my opinion, but Ratchet single-handedly made me put this game down. Ratchet, in the first game anyway, will always be one of my most hated characters in all of gaming. He's that bad. Let's just move on. After flipping out at everything and everyone, Ratchet finds out that Drek is going to blow up his own planet so that Drek's new planet will have the perfect orbit. Then Ratchet finally realizes that Drek is actually, you know, kind of an evil person. Took you long enough, you jerk. They meet Drek on Ratchet's home planet, and it's revealed that Chairman Drek himself was the one who polluted his home planet so that he could be paid a buttload of cash to make a new one, and that he plans to do the exact same thing with the new planet. After a pretty tedious final boss, Drek flies onto his home planet and Ratchet and Clank fire the deplanetizer at the planet, causing it to explode and sending our heroes hanging for their lives. Clank is able to save Ratchet using his jetpack and ends up breaking his arm. What follows is a scene that, okay, I'll admit, is a really good scene. Just watch.
My arm appears to be badly damaged.
Ah, you'll be alright. Hey, tin can! Where do you think you're going? We, still need to fix that arm.
After that great scene, Ratchet and Clank move forward to pursue a domestic life. The end. Overall, even after playing it again, I still don't like this game. I will admit that there are good things about it, like the side characters, the writing, the voice acting, and the decent soundtrack, but overall, the boring gameplay and Ratchet's character really bogged down this game for me. I can't really recommend it for people who want to get into this franchise. I haven't played any of the other games, and even I can tell you that every other game in the franchise will offer a much better experience than this. I'd even rather watch the 2016 movie than the first game, and I have seen it. It's mediocre at best, but still a much more enjoyable experience than Ratchet & Clank 1, and I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5.
Until then, I'm the Super Gamer, and if you'll excuse me, I have a certain holiday to attend to. Yeah.